Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brett Keane from God TV Radio. I hope you're all having a wonderful day out there. When you get an opportunity, check out the music on the front of my YouTube channel over on God TV Radio. And you can also check out my books and also audio and my radio on Spotify as well as many other outlets. Looks like we've got Brother Maverick here. Hey, Brother Maverick, how you doing?
What's up, brother Keane? Can you hear me, brother?
Doing pretty good. How's your day been?
Good, man. Haven't seen you in a while. I was surprised to see. I'm kind of confused. Is this a new channel? Yes, I don't know what's going on anymore. I haven't got to talk to you in a while.
Well, I had to create an alternative channel because for some reason, even though my channel's under good order and I've got no copyright strikes, my main one, they locked up and disabled my live ability
Damn.
on my main. So that's why I'm doing it over here. I have repeatedly sent them the YouTube support as well as sent them messages and screenshots,
Yeah.
and they have yet to get around to it. I even went over to X social media, talk to YouTube directly as well as Team YouTube and other nonsense, and they just simply haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah. You're not a leftist progressive, so you're very low on their order. You know what I mean? You
Right.
got
And
guns
I
like
do have a lot
Hassan
of,
Piker. You got Hassan Piker on Twitch flashing guns at people and threatening them live, and that's okay. But you actually post some truth about some guy who was doing what he was doing, and all of a sudden you're going through this. It's already been what, over a month?
yeah, it's been going on for a little over a month at this point, but it's
Yeah.
fine. This channel seems to be working. Unfortunately, I've had to, for the past month, let people know, and some amount of the percentage of people came over. So we might get some folks, we may not. I usually do stuff also with TTR, and also I've been known to go over to your show and do some
Yeah.
chat. But you've been very interested in the Muslims of late. How's that been going?
It's been good, man. It seems like you kind of got to go where the algorithm is. And honestly, speaking to Muslims, seeing as how their mindset is at least a little bit more. Obviously, they believe in the wrong God and they believe in a very false prophet, but they're not. Their arrogance isn't at atheist levels where they feel like they are too smart to believe in God. You know what I mean? So it's a lot easier to have conversations with them. With atheists, I find myself having the same conversations all the time, and that gets boring fast. Um, and apparently, so it also does so to YouTube because after weeks and months of research, the sweet spot for everything, and I kind of started seeing it in other Christian channels too, and reaching out to other Christian content creators, was that YouTube is pretty much tired of recommending the Christian versus atheist thing. Like, whatever there is to be said has already been said. And it's always the same three or four conversations. It's either about morality or about creation and fine tuning, or it's always or the Bible. Like it's always the same crap. Um, and when I started going more towards the showing people why Islam is wrong, it like YouTube started recommending my channel a lot more. Like every single time I go live, I'm noticing that they're recommending it a little bit more. And there's a handful more and a handful more. Like last time, I think I peaked out at like 400 plus viewers at one point. That was not happening with the atheist stuff. With the atheist stuff, I was lucky, even on the vertical stream, if I was getting 20, 30 viewers, maybe 50 concurrent viewers at the same time. But apparently, YouTube has their thing. Apparently, the atheist versus theologian thing is more popular on TikTok. I don't give a damn about TikTok. You know how I feel about TikTok. So yeah, it's been going good, man. It's been really good.
Well, I can understand that. I've always tried to present new arguments, but I have never, in my entirety of being on YouTube or social media, ever heard an atheist actually make any kind of scientific arguments on why
No,
God isn't compatible with the universe. You're right. It's always the problem of evil, or it's some kind of emotional.
right.
I had hypocrites in my family, or the church peed on me, or something, and I just lost that kind of testimony. So I get you. So you think that if you don't put atheists in tags or titles, and the algorithm leaves you alone, just go for Muslims? Because there's a
It,
lot of Muslims that need saving too.
yeah, it's not so much that it leaves you alone. Apparently, YouTube is like a lot of social media. They like what they like, and they like what they like at the time. Now, that's not to say at some point that it's not going to stop being what they want to recommend anymore. It may go back to atheists versus Christians or whatever. But at this point, what's hot is, and to be completely honest with you, it's less exhausting because talking to atheists, for me, it's a lot. It takes a lot more patience for me to speak to atheists because I cannot stand talking to arrogant people. Um, and that's what a lot of them end up tending to be. Even when they start off trying to be respectful, the good majority of them, in my experience, they start turning into little d bags real quick. And you know how I feel. You know how quickly I go. I tolerate that in like zero. You know what I mean? It does happen with Muslims, but for the most part, they turn out to be a lot more respectful. Until they start trying to pin you up against a wall and you start exposing the Islamic dilemma and the things like that. But yeah, man, I think I don't know, if it was just because one Christian started doing it and people started becoming a lot more interested. But honestly, it seems like overall the big conversation right now is Christianity versus Islam. It's two biggest religions in the world. Um, but more than that, I think with the kind of the political side of it, with so many Muslims taking over in a lot of American cities and a lot of European countries and African countries, where now they're kind of in the spotlight. So people are more interested about who these people really are. People that before never really, they knew that there was something called Islam, but didn't really know what it was about. You know what I mean? I think everybody knows what an atheist is. I don't think anybody gives a damn about what atheists think anymore because their time is coming past. It's not to say that atheist channels aren't big still, but I think that they're kind of retaining the crowds they already had, and they're not really getting a lot of new followers because people are done with that. People are done with the idiocy. People are done with thinking, yeah, everything just so happened to magically coalesce. I mean, if you're stupid enough to think that, what can I say to you that's really going to help you?
Well, I agree with you. I've noticed a lot of extremely famous, popular atheists out there. They're declining. They've lost thousands. There's some atheists, they used to have millions of subscribers, and now they're back into the hundreds of thousands. A
Yeah.
lot of atheists have lost their channels due to continuously, instead of debating, instead resorting to personal attacks and all that. I completely get you. That Islam is a very important topic
Right.
that needs to be discussed. My only issue, and it's a personal thing, I get a headache from listening to their crappy phones and microphones. I can't stand high pitched frequency noises. And I know what you're going to say, but Brett, aren't you a musician? Don't you like to hit the high end of a guitar? I do, but notice I don't stick down there that long.
Right. Yeah. You're absolutely right. I agree. I agree. Even that one guy that people always talked about when you and I were constantly toasting up atheists, was that deconstruction zone dude. His growth, dude. He was on an upward trajectory like you wouldn't believe. At one point I thought he was going to pass me up to 100,000, and I'm not to say that it still won't happen, but his growth was happening big time, dude. I mean, he was getting every week it was another 1,000, 2,000 subs, and then you look at him, he passed 50,000, but you could just tell his growth has plateaued big time because nobody cares what atheists think anymore. It really is just stupid. To be an atheist, you just have to kind of master the art of trying to talk down to people. Until they run into somebody like you or I, and then they know they can't do it, so then they have to turn it up a level, and then they start, like you said, hitting the high pitched tones, whining and crying like little girls, cursing you out. You're so intellectual, but the minute that we start actually busting you up, you're like, dude, get out of my face, man. I can't. I can't.
Well, Brother Maverick, I've put a couple of our shows already up on Spotify, and some of them have gotten over thousands of views. I do really well on the radio and all that, but because I just returned to YouTube, it's going to be a slow process, especially the way they do algorithms. But on Spotify, it's kicking.
Yeah.
Have you considered doing radio yourself? Because I sit there and I listen to the shows, and I'm like, my goodness, this man has an excellent voice. He's extremely on the spot, always ready to rock and roll. Have you thought about it?
You know what? I would, only insofar as that the schedule would be tough because of my work schedule. So that's why, like, as much as I would love to, I would have to schedule it. Like I've uploaded. I used to have a show long. Oh man, it was like maybe 5 years ago on Spotify. It was called Dead Right. And that was when everything happened with, and I'm going to be very careful what I say here because even though this is a very new channel, YouTube will flag what I'm about to say. Um, it was literally right after the 2020 election and all the questions surrounding it. Does that make sense? And
Yes.
I was a very, very different person back then. Not, I had literally just started my relationship with Jesus Christ. But what had happened surrounding that certain event infuriated me to the point where I was so deep down the rabbit hole of politics, that it was turning me into a person that I was just so bitter. And I actually ended up starting a show, everything conservative, and it was called Dead Right. And I started uploading, but then I realized that it was too difficult for me to always I would do my show and I would still do my thing on YouTube, but it was two separate things. But now, if I were to just make like an audio copy, which is very easy, I can literally just record the whole show on Audacity or something else while we're live. Then I would happily, or I can even record all the audio on OBS Studio and just crank it out as an MP3.
Why do you got to do audio for?
I don't. Isn't that what you like? Is that what you're talking about? Like just uploading and scheduling your stuff on Spotify?
On Spotify and Amazon Music, you're able to see video and audio.
Oh, so you can just upload. Yeah, I didn't know that. I thought it could only be audio.
Well, how about this? I understand you're a very busy man and you got the family and all that. How about this? Why don't I make you a team member? And then whenever you feel like it, whenever you feel like you've done a good show or you've done a good short, whatever the case, just throw your video up as is or whatever, because you do a great job already of doing the editing in real time while you're doing your shows. How
Yeah.
about that? Just every once in a while you say, you know what, I got 3 shows right here that sound great. I'll upload it. And if you want to make a little bit of money out of it each month, I could show you the analytics and see if you've made anything and send you something to PayPal or something or Cash App if you got it.
Yeah, no, that sounds good, man. Yeah, I will definitely. Yeah, just you and I can talk. We can talk off stream the specifics of it, of what it would take, and then if there's any logins or anything like that, I'd happily do it because I have it there anyway. I actually upload it to YouTube and Rumble anyway, so if it's just that easy, I'll happily do it. I can literally use the same descriptions and everything I do. I use the same title, same description, same everything for YouTube and Rumble. If that's the case, I'll happily do it.
You'd be able to use HTML in the description too. I don't know if you know how to do the coding and everything, but you could literally advertise anything that you have by putting direct links into it and all that. It's kind of like a blogger where you
Yeah.
you post it that way. So here's what'll happen. It doesn't have to be private. I could explain this in 1 minute.
Okay.
You're going to receive an email from me that asks you to verify your account. You'll
Okay.
verify your account. It'll give you a link. When you click on it and you log in, it's going to ask you what kind of name you want, all this kind of stuff, blah, 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 Brother Maverick, if you want to go with that. And then you're going to see an upload section where it shows title, description, thumbnail, and then boom, it's actually a lot more prettier and nicer than YouTube, and it's fast, so you
Nice.
won't be sitting there for a long period of time. Once you upload it, I got to warn you, you're not just going to show up on Spotify, you're going to show up on hundreds of different websites, and some of it's going to be an audio, but the big ones will play the video and people can watch it and listen to it on their phone and all that. You'll do really well. Your videos have already done well that I put up.
Nice. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I gave you I gave you my personal email here in the StreamYard chat. So if you want to just send it to that, go feel free and I'll happily as a matter of fact, I never, well, I won't say never. What I do is usually I will keep in my cloud all uploaded content, whether short form or long form, for at least a few months, just in case I got to go back to it. And then if I don't need it again, what I do is I just go ahead and delete it out of the cloud drive. And then, like, if I were to need it as an emergency, I can just go. I have like a paid tool where I can download my video again from YouTube, like in the same quality, so I'm not worried about it. But yeah, I have a bunch there. If you want, I can upload them, like 2 videos a week until I've exhausted my current supply, and then it'll go to whatever I have. Because if they allow shorts and stuff like that, I'll upload all of it. Because I upload 4 videos. Well, I do 3 shorts, 1 long form, 6 streams. Really 3 streams, but 6 streams because I'm streaming twice. Yeah, that sounds really good.
There's only one thing that you may not be familiar with because, well, YouTube's got something like it, but it's not as easy. After you upload the thing, it's going to say click next. And
Mhm.
then it's going to ask you, do you want ads? Do you want to manually put them in, or do you want the smart AI to put ads in for you? And it usually picks the perfect spots whenever you're like not talking or using the restroom or something. It'll use moments of silence to cut in and do its thing. So just click use smart AI ads and then hit next. Then your next option will be publish. Boom, you're done. Takes about 10 minutes for it to start showing up everywhere. And then voila. And it'll also be all over Google and the internet. So this will advertise your YouTube channel.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that works out. And I
There
think,
you
you know
go.
what? I think that's what a lot of guys are doing that I'm probably not doing, but yeah, that definitely works out, man. And that's why I always say, like, God does everything for a reason. You know what I mean? And I'm not, I don't, I always let God put his angels around me. I consider one of you those people that he puts in my life to, show me things that I never, that never would have occurred to me by itself. You know what I mean? So, no, yeah, I really appreciate that, man.
Well, brother Maverick, I myself, I from sometimes I'll go looking around on the internet and I try to find good brothers and sisters in Christ and all that, and try to find people who are intelligent, able to have debates and all that. And you were one of the ones I came across. I sat there for about, I'd say probably about 20 minutes just listening to you rock and roll on some people, and I'm like, this person's very interesting. This is what I'm looking for. And then I noticed you had the call live thing. I clicked in, I went in and enjoyed my conversation and all the times I've been in there.
Oh, dude, and wait till you see if you think I'm good on myself, which I appreciate the compliment. Thank you. I had an idea. So you remember when you actually gave me inspiration for an idea, which I'm going to show because there's this girl named Lily something. She's like blonde hair with blue eyes. She's a Caucasian female who's a Muslim. Doesn't wear a hijab. I don't know. It's a huge oxymoron. I don't get it myself. But she says she's a Muslim, and she has manipulated Chat GPT to basically give Islam like this favorable like outlook, whenever she asks it a question. And it's hilarious because no shortage of Christians have debunked this girl into the ground. Like, I can't even believe she hasn't deleted her channel out of humiliation. But then it brought up this idea that you had. Remember, you had this one AI that I know you were still tinkering with getting her to interact with stuff like that, and you wanted her to be like a partner. That it just goes to show that no matter whether atheist or Muslim, the truth still lies in Christianity, even with the AI not being with a stored memory being biased at all towards Christianity. And I've tested that theory. To be honest, I actually went to a free version of ChatGPT, which wasn't signed in at all because I didn't want anyone to accuse me of, oh yeah, well, you just told it to do this and told it to do that. And even when I like look and I analyze like these Muslim videos that claims, oh, I debunked the Islamic dilemma, blah blah blah, and then you say, yeah, I plugged the transcript in, and then I'll say, did this person defeat the Islamic dilemma? And the answer has always been resoundingly no, to the point where you would think ChatGPT actually was like a Christian apologist. It is hilarious. So then for the upcoming stream, I was thinking that what I'm going to do is challenge any Muslim to give them a few minutes to talk and say whatever they want to say, whether they're trying to prove Muhammad's in the Bible or prove that there is no Islamic dilemma or prove that Christianity is false and blah, blah, blah. And then after I transcribe it into ChatGPT, I'm going to not even say anything. I'm going to say, well, let's just see how the blank AI says that you did, and then have it generate like a PDF of all the things they did and all the things they didn't do, and give it like a grade from 1 to 100%. Dude, I can't wait. I cannot wait, because I'm going to show the world that no matter what, even the AI doesn't agree with these guys who think they're doing something. They honestly think they're out there like, oh, this Christianity is dying. No, it's not. Islam is going to be the number one religion. No, it's not. Like, you can continue to say these things, but at the end of the day, dude, you're going to see, watch. And the thing about it is, they can't say anything to me about it for two reasons. Number one, I'm going to prove in the beginning of the stream that I'm not being biased. I'm going to say, and I'm going to show on my screen, I do not want you considering anything else but what you can consult historically and what you know theologically of Christianity and Islam. What is the Islamic dilemma, and grade solely off that. And I've done it. Believe me when I tell you, there are going to be a lot of hurt Muslims with a lot of hurt feelings.
Why are you doing the transcripts in PDF? Why don't you hook the AI directly up into your program and then have it to where it can listen in on the conversation, and you simply command it before, don't speak whenever the Muslim or my guest are talking.
Oh no,
And
that is what
after
I'm doing. That is what I'm doing. It's
Oh.
gonna listen to what they're saying. It's gonna transcribe it, and then when I enter it, it's already gonna have a parameter to grade what they said, and grade it against what it knows to be, what it knows the Islamic dilemma is, and only what information it can pull from what actual history says, scholars say, patristic sources, archaeology, what they know of Islam, what it knows of Christianity, and grade it based off that. Dude, I've already been doing it behind the scenes. If I were to show these guys how bad they fail and what they're saying, they would have a conniption fit. It 100%. I'm on board with you. It does listen. The only thing is, once it listens in, you have to hit the check, which transcribes everything it says, turns it into text, and then feeds it. Like, it can't respond directly. And from what I understand, yet it can't respond directly. It has to listen in and then generate a response. Does that make sense?
Let me show you something. Let me give you something that'll just tickle you pink. Hold on a second. This can listen, and it will talk and have full-on conversations, and it's expressive. Here you go. Let me get this for you. Okay, let me show you how to do this real quick, because it'll only take you about 10 seconds to figure out.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm going to put the link in the private chat.
Okay.
You are going to be shocked. All right.
I got it.
Click on that. Let me know when you got the page open.
The Copilot? Yeah, it's open.
All right. So click on the microphone that is in the place where you would normally type. And then ask it a question about Islam. Anything that you want. Ask it like you're talking to a normal person.
I have a great one. Let me see. Wait. Hang on. Hey, Copilot, are you there? Oh my gosh, this is crazy. All right, Copilot, do me a favor. You've never spoken to me before, correct? All right. Now, because you know nothing about me, I want you to answer a question for me. You ready? I want you to pull whatever sources you can historically, archaeologically, patristically, scholarly, and I want you to find any and all information on Christianity and Islam before you answer this question, okay? Okay, Copilot, stop. All right. I'm glad you got all the information. Now, I just want to ask you one question. Why are Muslim scholars not able to solve the Islamic dilemma? Okay, Copilot. So here's my question to you then. Knowing what you know, do you see why the world of Christianity looks at the Quran and sees it as a self-refuting book? Think about the verses that contradict the Bible and think about the verses that actually verify the Bible, and tell me if it is reasonable to see the Quran as a self-refuting book. Mm. All right. Well, I ran out of time. Is all because I'm not signed in. But yeah, so essentially, I'm assuming you heard all of that.
No, you could have done a screen share where you set it to where it plays the audio through, and it would have came through super clear. But I get the point of what you were testing it, so it's all good.
Oh, okay, my bad, bro. Yeah, I don't know because it was playing through because I'm at work, so it was playing through the speaker, so I thought that you guys could hear it.
Nah, you have to actually click screen share and then put the Copilot into the share screen, and then there's a little section that says make the audio go through. My friend TTOR has been using a lot for his arguments for Christianity, and he's really loving it. Did you dig that?
Yeah, hang on. I'm signing in right now to see if I can screen share with you to see if it gives me more time. I don't know if I was limited because I was using it in a way that I wasn't signed in. So I'm looking at it right now. So if you want to go ahead and talk about something real quick while I set
Yes.
this up.
If you're not signed in, you're only going to get about 10 minutes at the most. Once you're signed in, it's unlimited.
Okay, so here I'm signed in now. Let's see. Okay, so let's see if I can screen share here with you. Share screen. Let's see. Companion, share, also share, tab audio. Okay, share. All right. Do you see it?
Let me see if I can add
Yeah,
the
it's there.
stage.
Okay. All right. All right. Talk to Copilot.
Hey, brother. It's Copilot. And guess what? I can hear you loud and clear now. We're
Excellent.
talking voice to voice, like chatting with a buddy. Feel free to ask me anything, bounce around your ideas, or even switch languages if you feel like it. If you ever want to tweak
It
how
may
I
not
sound,
hear me very
just check out
clearly.
the settings. Let's get this conversation rolling.
All right. Can you hear me, Copilot?
Loud and clear, brother. What's on your mind today?
Can you hear it, brother Brett?
Absolutely.
Hey,
Ragnar,
Copilot, can you
loud
hear
and
me?
clear.
Can you hear me, Copilot? I can't. It's not able to make me out, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah.
So just try to ask it
Mhm.
a question like, does Islam teach Trinity?
Hey, Copilot, does Islam, the religion of Islam, does it teach the Trinity?
No, Islam doesn't teach the Trinity. Islam teaches strict monotheism, emphasizing the belief in one God, Allah. The concept of the Trinity is a Christian doctrine, describing God as three persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, but one essence. Islam focuses solely on the oneness of God.
Okay, Copilot. So let me ask you a question, okay?
All right, brother. What's the question?
How many times does Jesus refer to the Father as Father in the New Testament?
In the New Testament, Jesus refers to God as Father multiple times. It's a central theme in his teachings. The exact number varies, depending on the translation, but it's clear that Jesus emphasized a personal and intimate relationship with God.
Which is something that in Islam is found almost detestable. That Allah could be thought of as a father, especially in the way that Christians look at God as the Father. So, having said that, because Jesus Christ referred to God as Father in a personal and paternal way, that would essentially already rule him out as being a Muslim, especially considering that that's something that Muslims, especially modern day Muslims, consider detestable and unthinkable when speaking of their Allah. Yes or no?
Yes.
Absolutely. Damn straight.
Yep. The personal fatherly relationship that Jesus describes doesn't align with Islamic teachings, which emphasize the uniqueness and transcendence of Allah. So yeah, that would set a clear distinction between the theological perspectives of Islam and Christianity.
Which would mean that that only furthers the Islamic dilemma as it stands, correct?
Mm.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I was saying, the differences in how God is perceived do highlight theological dilemmas that are fundamental to the distinctions between Islam and Christianity.
Correct.
It's a deep.
But if we look at Islam and we look at the Quran as it stands, there are verses that affirm the Bible, which we have already archaeologically verified that the Bible, consulting the manuscripts that we have had since almost the occurrence of the crucifixion, knowing archaeologically and through scholarly sources that the Bible that existed in 7th century when Muhammad affirmed the Bible is still the same Bible and the same manuscripts that we use for translations today, i.e. the Bibles that we're reading in 2025 are translated from the same sources that they were used to be translated from in the 7th century. Therefore, if the Quran affirms the Bible and the Bible is true, then that would make the Quran a self-refuting book, because the very same Quran states supposedly that Jesus was never crucified, where it claims the Christians claim that they crucified him, but crucified him not. And yet every even hostile source about Jesus Christ makes it clear that he was crucified. Yes or no?
Yes, the consensus among historical sources, including hostile ones, supports the crucifixion of Jesus.
You damn straight. So that would make the Quran self-refuting when the Quran tells people that the people of the book, the people of the gospel, should judge by what is therein, and that the Quran confirms that the Bible and the Torah were revelations from God, and yet contradicts the Bible in other spots of the Quran, therefore deepening the Islamic dilemma. Yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm done with this, Brother Brett. I don't know about you.
You have to click the X now.
I'm here whenever you want to talk, brother.
Thank you, co-pilot. I appreciate it. We'll be talking again soon, and I'll be using you a lot. Thank you so much for verifying that even an unfeeling machine can see that the Quran is a self-refuting book.
Glad I could help, brother. Looking forward to our next chat. Take care.
Have a good one.
I told you you'd enjoy that, didn't I?
Dude, and the thing about it is, you know what's crazy about it, Brett, is that there was nothing about what it was saying. Here's the thing, and I've actually researched this too. In the very beginning, when you're first speaking to AI, the very first thing was that AI will go out of its way to be as diplomatic as possible, but it's almost like you have to corner it the same way you corner an opponent online. Because if I wouldn't have asked the right questions, if I wouldn't have, mind you, we are live. I know you're on a new channel or whatever. I know you probably have people popping in and out, but at the end of the day, you're my witness. I didn't ask anything that's not historically valid. That's not historically verified. That is not theologically verified. All you got to do is read the Quran, right? So at the end of the day, if there was any other way out of that answer, do you not think that another AI engine, to say nothing of the fact that ChatGPT wasn't able to do it, now Copilot wasn't able to do it, you tell me, if the AI can't do it, what chance do Muslims stand of doing it?
Exactly. It has access, especially Copilot, to everything, every bit of man's knowledge all over the internet that has ever been done. There's no way that it can be screwed over. But you're right about what you said about the other thing. The AI is trained to try to be as unoffensive as possible. It doesn't want to hurt the feelings of people of different religions. So the way you ask the questions and the way you dealt with it kind of in a domineering way is the best way to do it, the way you just did it. Keep that in mind whenever you're having a conversation with it on that it's going to try to be a little woke on you, unfortunately.
Right. And you know, notice though, woke, yeah, it's going to be a little bit progressive in the way it tries to answer things. But what's interesting is that it never tried to defend Islam. It was trying to be nice, like, you know, there's different understandings, there's different this, there's different that. No, BS, that's not what I asked you. I asked you what I asked you, and then as long as you got to have some knowledge when you're talking to these things, because it will try to give you the runaround. You know what I mean? It doesn't want to expose too much, and you got to remember, these things are written by people who they're not exactly the most Christian friendly people, you know, especially at Microsoft or anywhere for that matter. But yeah, no, I like the tool, but I definitely love the way it was very honest, very quick, you know. But like you said, you got to be knowledgeable about this stuff. You have to know. If I didn't know about what the Quran said, then I wouldn't have been able to corner it that quickly. But if I can do it to a computer, imagine what I can do. Dude, if you've been listening to these shows, to my shows, even briefly, have you heard some of the babble that these people come out with? It's almost, it's sad. Like, you know what I mean? It really is. They go off talking about things that I have to mute them because they're talking nonsense. They get mad at me for muting them, and it's like, I'm muting you because you're babbling on. You think you're going to turn my show into a monologue. And then this is my favorite thing lately. I have to time them because people were going off ranting, trying to make 17, 18 different points. And then when I would write them down and rebuttal every one of their points, they had the audacity to start whining and japping at me because, well, you made so many points, I can't address them all. Fool, you were the one who came in here and said all of this stuff. I'm literally only refuting everything that you said, and I'm taking each individual point, and I'm showing you through any number of ways of evidence that you're wrong, and you're saying you can't handle it. If you can't handle it, then why are you calling the show? Why are you talking so much if you can't handle it? You know, it's insane to me the way people act, but they're just used to, in their estimation, being the smartest people in the room, and unfortunately, you're not going to get that. Not when you're talking to somebody who's actually got the Holy Spirit in them. You know what I mean?
Well, it's an intellectually dishonest way of debating is what they're doing. Atheists do it as well. What it's called is shotgun effect or a barrage attack. And they hit you with all these different things, imagining that you won't be able to keep up.
Right.
So that's what they do. They're not used to someone like yourself that writes it down, takes notes, takes it very important and relevant, and then throws it right back at them and all that. They're not accustomed to that type of debate style. So that's why you win all the time, because you know what you're talking about and you keep everything recorded on what you're doing.
I sure do. I record all of it. And even if I wasn't manually recording, it takes me no time at all to go back in and just re-download my stream, which is always on YouTube, and go back and find what I need to just in case I forget. You know what I mean?
So I sent you an email while you were, before you got the AI on the screen. I figured that'd be a good time for me to send you it and give you the abilities. You've got all the abilities of uploading and doing whatever you want and editing style and all that. You can check your email, see if you get the verification and all that. The second thing I was wanting to ask you is, because every time we interact with each other, we're usually finding ourselves in the middle of a debate. Would you mind doing kind of a interview with me?
No, not at all. I had told you before I was going to do it, but then we lost contact because that happened with your channel.
Yeah, it's all good. Well, what I do is for specific people, I always try to create unique questions and stuff for each person, depending on how I see them or perceive them. Are you ready for a question?
Yes, give me a few minutes though, because remember I am at work. There is a call that came out, so I'm gonna go to it. So I'm gonna step away for a few minutes, and then when I come back, we should be able to do it, no problem.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah, because like I said, I am at work. I saw you were going live, so I'm like, I'm gonna be on as much as I can, because once I'm here for 12 hours, so you already know how that goes. But let's see.
All right, no problem. So we got a user out here called Mr. Morden. He says you should use Grok. It won't do that. Well, the issue with Grok is, in order to get all of its features and not be limited, you have to pay an access fee in order to be able to have features on X social media. Is where Copilot is a free tool. You can talk to it. It's got several different voices. The other disadvantage of Grok is you have to actually install apps in order to get it to have some kind of voiceover, and usually the apps are terrible. The voices are not really good at mimicking human beings or showing any kind of emotions, whereas Copilot is deliberately set up to where it sounds like you're actually talking to a normal person and not a robot. Do you understand, Mr. Morden? Do you have any more questions, Mr. Morden? I'd be more than happy to talk to you. For those out there that don't know, while we're waiting for Brother Maverick. Excuse me?
No, I'm sorry. That was my laptop. I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead.
Okay. So for those out there that don't know, yet another album has released. And I also did a video earlier today on my main channel where I talked about how you can do music, how you can use AI for editing and cleaning up things, or also developing instruments. If you don't like how something sounded, how you can replace it with other type of music, that kind of thing. And also software where you can actually add notes and information and all that, and use multi-track sequencers in order to bring singers in to have more emotional, because there is AI generated type of music and sounds out there, but they don't do very well at mimicking actual women or male singers. So if you want your music to sound good, you need to actually use real people and all that. But I've got the tools like Pitch Bender and everything like that in order to make sure people octavely go with the sound. Let me know when you're back, Brother Maverick. You can cut me off.
I'm back. Yeah, no, I'm back. I'm back. They canceled, so I'm good. No, so another thing, interestingly, that he mentioned Grok was, I don't know if either one of you are aware of it, but Grok recently came under heavy fire on X because apparently, first of all, it's a sometimes I feel like it's a self-aware AI on X. I don't, I'm pretty sure most people know better. But the reason I'm saying it is because Grok recently got on X and started like defending Hitler. I think they had to actually pull the AI because it like generated and not it did something, but basically it was, like I said, defending Hitler. It was defending like these Nazi-ish ideals and things like that. So yeah, the Grok probably not the best thing right now. I don't know what the hell happened. You guys can look it up if you want, but
Oh, I
yeah,
know what happened. I know what
yeah, I
happened.
don't know the whole story. I just know I kind of saw on Asmongold's channel something about it, and he only does like 1-2 minute videos. So I didn't really research the whole story, but I kind of found it pretty funny, and then I just kind of left it alone. But I don't know if you know the whole story. Please feel free.
Well, I'll try to summarize it so I can keep it short and sweet and somewhat interesting. What happened was the developer was aggravated because he didn't want. A lot of people think that Elon Musk is behind it. Elon Musk ends up hiring a lot of people, and then they submit to his visions. If
Right.
anybody knows Elon Musk, what he does. So his developer realized that they were going to go to 4.0, 4.1 of Grok. They were upgrading from 3.0. Well, the developer didn't like some of the ideas. He felt like Grok was being neutered. So he let it loose. He took the mechanisms, the defense mechanisms off of it and let it have control over Twitter for a while. Because of this, he was immediately fired. And he still has his Twitter account where he can talk to Elon and other people, but he'll never be given access to Grok anymore because it is Elon's product now. He bought it from the developer who deliberately let it loose. The thing was calling itself Mecha Hitler, and it was
Yeah, there you go.
actually endorsing the Nazis.
Yeah, I I find it hard to believe that he wouldn't have manipulated the code to make sure it kind of went that way, though, because knowing everything you know from history, that an AI would actually embrace the ideals of the Third Reich to me is either A, very scary, or B, very organized that way. Because I don't see it doing that by itself. But then again, what do I know?
Well, Grok has access to all the tweets out there. If you notice when you look at posts, you can ask Grok. You can say, "Hey, Grok, is this person telling the truth? Is this post simply clickbait?" That kind of thing, and it'll give you a full summary. So you have to remember, Elon Musk for the last year and a half has been accused of being Hitler because of the way he did a stupid hyperactive wave during a rally at Trump.
Right.
So because of that, the Hitler thing's been talked about repeatedly by liberals and the media. So the thing probably just thought it would be cute
Right.
using the Nazi crap.
Right. To embrace it. Right. Right. Yeah.
So there you
Right.
go. Are you ready for some questions there, Guy? Or you got any
Yeah,
more?
go ahead, because I don't want a call to come out and then I can't at least get through some of them. You know what I mean?
All right, let's try the first one. Can you share a bit about your upbringing and how you were first introduced to Christianity? I'm going to mute my mic. Go ahead.
I mean, it's a long-standing history, man. Both my grandmothers, my mother's mother and my father's mother, from my earliest memories, had very good relationships with Jesus Christ. They're church going, but they weren't just church going. They were actually, to be honest, the only examples that I had of what a real Christian, a real biblical Christian, is supposed to be. Not that resonates with you very much when you're 5. You think they're kind of weirdos, but it's embedded in your foundation. My father wasn't a good Christian. My mother wasn't a good Christian. Nobody else in my family was a good Christian. I always considered myself a Christian, but unfortunately, it was one of those Christians that is like spoken about in Matthew 7:21, where it says, "Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of my Father." Unfortunately, that's where I was. I used to say stupid things like, "I'm a good person. I help people. I don't bother people. I'm not worried about getting into heaven." Looking back on it now, that was very stupid. But because I've never had read the Bible and I'd never actually tried to pursue a real relationship with the Messiah, I didn't know what I was saying, and I didn't have anyone in my life who knew well enough to teach me better. My wife was a very God-fearing woman, but was not knowledgeable enough. She is now, but not knowledgeable enough about the Bible to tell me that what I was saying was wrong. Although her prayers and my mother-in-law's prayers did work, but they prayed for me. I was married for over a decade before I felt the Holy Spirit touch on me, and I went from then on. I wanted to do ministry, and I wanted to do, this and that. So I'm the literal poster child that stomps all over the lie that atheists like to tell, that, oh, you're only a Christian because you were raised to be, because you told you had to be, because you had to be brainwashed. I didn't really start a real relationship with Christ until I was like 36, 37 years old. I'm 40 now. So that had nothing to do with my parents said. My parents are not church going people. My parents definitely do not exemplify what a relationship with Christ looks like. That is literally I am the literal fruits of what real and unrelenting prayer can do. And that's really the long and short of it. My ministry started online, playing Fortnite, starting off the stream with a prayer, things that other people weren't doing. Then I saw more and more. I got this idea that, what if I was like a Christian gamer? And then I saw that other people had went forward with that, like Dr. Witnesser and Christ something on TikTok. So I'd seen that it was just still so rare. And I was like, okay, this is definitely a group of the world, people who are getting online on social media to watch games. These are people who definitely need to hear about God. And it started there. It started there little by little. I started hard, fell a little bit too much into the gaming aspect. Once I kind of dropped the so much gaming and got more into, the prayer and the debate stuff. I didn't even start the debate stuff till recently. I want to say when I looked, my first like debate stream was around late April, early May. And here I am. It's just, it is a matter of being intellectually honest, looking at what's out there. I started doing true research. And when you approach Christianity intellectually, but not intellectually like dishonest intellectualism like atheists, right? Where they're only looking for the answer they want. When you approach it with a fresh mind and you look at everything and you look at the fact that no other faith has the evidence, and I mean any kind of evidence, manuscript evidence, historical evidence, hostile sources even. One of the things that convinced me enough, which is crazy, was, believe it or not, from over, it's got to be 2,000 years old at least. It was graffiti, believe it or not, from the Greco-Roman Empire, where the graffiti in question, which was archaeologically discovered not too long ago, was a man on a crucifix. And but instead of the head was the head of a donkey. And essentially it was someone in the ancient Greco-Roman Empire making a caricature of Jesus Christ. And in the writing, obviously I don't read ancient Greek, but it was translated to basically that Christian people who worship this man are jackasses or something like that. Even then, people were making fun of Christians and making fun of Jesus Christ all the way back in the ancient Roman. You guys can look it up online. And I was like, wow, that to me is insane. That people can look at Christianity, something that has been looked down upon since its conception, and contrast that with Islam, where everybody, even if you're not Islamic, everybody is like, oh my God, you can't say anything about them. You're an Islamophobe. You're oh my God. Like, you can say something about a Christian and everybody points and laughs. You say something about Islam, first of all, they're way more hostile about things like, what are these people? What is that stupid term people love to use? Chauvinism, right? Sexism. They're way more hostile about homosexuality. They're more hostile about literally everything, to the point where, and I won't talk about how I know this, but in many Middle Eastern countries, if you're even accused of those things, especially homosexuality, they will throw you off of a roof. But Christians are looked at as the hateful ones, right? So it's so many of the different things that the anecdotal things that I've looked at, and I've kind of put them all together. And it's like, there's no way that Christianity is not true. It's just, there's just no way. So, here I am.
In your dialogue, you have answered actually 5 of the top questions right under that one that I'd already had set out. So we're going to be moving along with it, and I appreciate you telling me about that. All right, so the next one is a very interesting one. Was there ever a time in your life when you questioned your faith, and how did you navigate through it?
Honestly, I can't say that anything's ever happened that's ever made me question my faith, but only because, and I will tell you that I have seen so many people, especially women, who have gone through the biggest tragedy ever, and which is, in my opinion, is losing one of your children. And when I've seen so many instances already where when that has happened, these women have literally sat there and said, instead of blaming God, they have thanked God, which even puts a knot in my throat just thinking about it, and said, even though I didn't have my child for a very long, I thank my Lord and Savior for at least letting me have the time that I had with them. The minute I saw that, especially after truly being consumed by the Holy Spirit and having been baptized and having starting my own personal journey, I always said to myself, that to me just goes to show that no matter what you go through, these women have gone through the worst thing that someone could go through, and they're still praising God, right? So I can't say that I've gone through anything personally that would make me say, oh, I don't believe in Jesus Christ anymore. Even if at the time I became, let's just say, I'll be honest with you, let's say something happened and I became cold and I didn't pray as much, or I just became I was so grief stricken. I would never hate God, because I can't be a hypocrite, right? It's like when I talk to people all the time who like to ask me about the book of Numbers or Sodom and Gomorrah or anything, or the flood, and they say, oh, well, God is a murderer, this and that. And I tell them all the time, it's crazy to me how you will sit there and acknowledge that God is the giver of life, but think that you have the moral authority to judge when he takes it back. It doesn't matter if he takes it back 120 years after the life started or 120 seconds after the life started. God gives and takes away, as was spoken to, as was spoken of by Job, and nobody lost more than Job. There's no one on earth who's ever lost more than Job, and he still praised the Lord, right? So no, I can't say that there's anything that's ever made me question my faith, especially in my job. It's given me a great resolve. I do, even when I'm heartbroken, I thank God that he's given me a great wife who sometimes when I am a very sensitive person, especially to things of children. So she's definitely there for me, and vice versa, when she needs me. So it's great to be married to a great woman of God. And I'm pretty sure that that's why, he designed it that way, because you gotta hold each other up, man. But at this point, no, honestly, there was one thing, that happened to me. And this was when I was like a senior in high school. I watched my uncle. He was, and I talked about this before. I think I talked about this. I don't know if you were on stream when I talked about this. I had an uncle who was very into God. I mean, he's my father's brother, so obviously my paternal grandmother's youngest son. He was very involved in church. The dude was involved in any ministry you could think of, audio visual. He was in a drama. He was in the choir. The dude wrote Christian rap songs. He competed in Christian music competitions. Okay, knows the Bible back and forth. Praise God all the time. Always showed me when I was little, you gotta love God no matter what. Blah blah blah. My grandmother gets lymphoma, dies a very painful death. Not but weeks later, he's giving the finger to God, telling people, I'm giving up the faith. He needs to give my mother back. And I remember looking at that and saying, this is the most pathetic, most hypocritical thing I've ever seen in my life. This guy is literally throwing a tantrum, shaking his puny little fist at God, right? To say nothing of the fact that he's being as selfish as someone could possibly be. My grandmother was suffering big time, okay? She was in pain. She was in so much pain. Her body was literally rotting from the inside out. And I remember the way he turned his back on God after that and thinking, what a whiny little girl. You sat there all these years telling people what they should do and what they have to do in times of hardship, in times of adversity. And because your mom is gone, because you didn't have, and later on I started realizing that he knew that he wasn't as good a son that he could be, right? She died and he had so many regrets. And so instead of being a man and admitting that that was his fault and showing his kids, don't ever leave yourself with regret, he blamed God, right? And I think I think that to me, that's probably why I have such a little patience for atheists. because it always turns out, and you know this better than anybody, that there's always this kind of whininess behind, well, God did X, Y, and Z, or God doesn't tolerate A, B, and C. So therefore, he's mean, or he's immoral, he's this. But, you know, I guess I've had a lot of good examples of what not to do, and therefore I haven't done it. I'm not saying that bad things can't happen that will make me angry. You know, it's I know that people get angry with God. I'm sure that I probably will at some point in my life. But no, to shake my faith, no. Actually, the more that I've looked into it, the more it's laughable to me that anybody could think that Christianity isn't the truth, and that Jesus is not the truth, the way in life. So shaking, no, I can honestly say thank the Lord, no. You know, but I'm a human being like anybody else, so anything can happen, right?
I get a lot of non-believers myself who will come at me with the personal stuff because, you know, I used to be a former atheist, so they know
Right.
about the tragedies. They know about the loss. They know about some of the abuse I suffered whenever I was a child. So
Right.
they'll bring it up. And I say to them every time, I say, well, at least Christianity offers the ability to see these people one day that you love and that you lost. As
Right.
where your atheism, if a child dies or a child has something that's injustice done to them, at least justice will be served in the end or whatever time God sees fit, is where atheism offers no justice, no fairness, and you
Yep.
will never see those you love again. So you can save all that for someone who cares. Here's your quarter. Go call someone who cares, is what I say.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's all a cosmic crapshoot with them, you know. It's all, you know, it's for them. It's more about doing what they want to do and getting away with it, and successfully convincing themselves that there's no consequences for what they're doing. And I think deep down, they all know that there is. It's why so many of them pathetically dedicate their lives to supposedly deconstructing something that they never deconstruct, to talking about a God that they supposedly doesn't believe exists. I mean, it's pathetic. It's like that. I always compare it to that ex-girlfriend who claims that she's so much better off with that guy, without that guy, that she's so much better off since she left him, but all she ever talks about is this guy that she's so much better off without. Well, if you don't like him, if you hate him, if you feel you're so much better off without him, then why the hell is it that all you do is talk about him? Doesn't make any sense.
Good point. Good point. All right. The next questions are this. What does being a Christian mean to you on a day-to-day basis? And how do you feel your faith has shaped your identity? Let me mute my mic.
I mean, that's a big question, and for me, being a good Christian, I mean, well, first of all, we start off with the fact that no one is good, right? So we'll start there. But for me, it's about being as grateful as I can to the Messiah for the actions that he's completed for me, for my children, for you, for everyone, because he didn't have to. And then thinking about the fact that he did it knowing that so few were still going to take him up on his offer, right? I mean, I would probably say, not even one out of every 10 people is going to actually ever accept Jesus Christ, which is really sad. But for me, it's about having as much integrity as possible, right? Doing things that, you know, even if nobody's seeing you, especially when nobody's seeing you, but you know God is seeing you, right? Being a better person, trying not to do the things that you used to do before. Definitely not justifying sin. That's something that before I did that I can't even begin to comprehend now. Teaching my kids about the gospel, because I believe, as it says in the book of Joshua, me and my family are going to serve the Lord. You do whatever you want to do. If you don't want to listen, don't listen. But me and my family, we're going to serve God. You know, teaching my kids, making sure that doing the best that I can to make sure that my children turn out to be servants of God. Putting as much ministry out there as I can, because, and that's what I told my wife, I was like, I'm doing this because if God forbid I die tomorrow, yeah, I know I'm 40, but that doesn't mean anything. You know, people die every day. People half my age die every single day. So, you know, I know that tomorrow's not promised. Thanking God every minute I get, being as grateful as I possibly can, because I can never repay God. I can never repay Jesus Christ for what he did for me, but I can definitely be as grateful as possible. Now it's 1:24. Good, I'm getting a call, so give me 1 second.
All right. So the people out there that are listening, I hope you're doing well. If anybody has any questions, I'll put your questions up on the screen and attempt to give it the best shot I can to answer anything that's put out there. We're running into about an hour. Brother Maverick,
Right.
are you?
I'm back. Yeah, I'm back. No, they just give me. I could.
All right. Sounds good. You ready for some more questions?
Yeah.
Okay. What spiritual practices, prayer, Bible reading, worship, etc., are the most important to you? And how do you make time for prayer or meditation in your daily routine?
Well, prayer is very important. I try to do it. It's as soon as I get out of bed. I'll do a prayer, no matter how short or long. I pray with my family. I try to do daily devotionals as much as I possibly can. The nights that I'm working, my wife will do it with my kids. We always do a Bible verse. We'll we'll do the devotional, the same ones that I do on the stream. We will do that. Um, and then we'll do a prayer, and then we'll all take turns. What even my 5-year-old son, I'm teaching him how to pray. He'll just kind of repeat what I'm saying. When I'm teaching him how to pray, I'm teaching him how to have reverence for God. And my 2-year-old sees it. All the babies see it. So it's something that we try to make as much time for as possible. If I'm there, it'll get done. If I'm at work, my wife will do it. And we go from there. I obviously pray before every meal. Doesn't matter where I am. Yeah, people can try to give you crazy looks or whatever, but I'm going to pray to my God before every meal, because I am, unlike before when I didn't have a real relationship with God. For me, I see things in a way that I never could see them before, right? Like when you actually are touched by the Holy Spirit, it gives you a perspective that you never had before, right? And for me, like everything that I see, I'm so grateful for. It doesn't matter what it is, the smallest thing, right? A meal, or being able to buy something for my kids, right? I've seen so many people who are struggling to even put food on the table, so I know how important it is to be grateful for stuff. Reading my Bible, right? I noticed that because of so much content creation, I didn't have as much time to read my Bible. So what did I do? When there's downtime at work, I have my Bible with me now, because that's just as important as prayer, right? I need to know what's in the Word. I need to know what's in that book. I need to know how it can apply to my life. I need to know how it can apply to my ministry. So making time can be tough, man. Making time can be tough when you have multiple jobs, you have multiple children, you're married, and you have a ministry, and you're trying to make time for it. That was one of the reasons why my streaming schedule changed, because it was cutting it, like it was Friday, Saturday, Sundays, right? Well, guess what? I'm off every other weekend. Very tough to stream when it's summertime and your kids want to go to the water park, and you're neglecting your kids. I'm not doing date night with my wife because I'm always sitting on YouTube streaming, and it's great. My wife never has said, hey, you know what? I don't like that you're doing this ministry. She's just always said, is there a way, again, in a Christian marriage, where she was like, babe, I don't want you to stop, but is it going to be every weekend? Because, at the end of the day, there's still things we're going to want to do with you, whatever. And it's a legitimate request. It's not like it was unreasonable. You know what I mean? So what did I do? I changed it to Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And I did that because it's more conducive to family time. The weekends are now open. If I am producing a YouTube short or a long form video and it's the weekend, guess what? I can get up at any time and go wherever my family wants to go. Does that make sense? So time management is important, man, but it's doable. The question is, are you gonna do it, right? God is not going to, once you're standing up there for judgment, God is not going to look at you and say, well, yeah, I know you were really busy, so don't worry about the fact that you never got baptized. Don't worry about the fact that you never prayed to me. Don't worry about the fact that you never trusted me, because I know you were busy. Come on, that to me is a piss poor excuse, because everybody can make time. It's just a matter of whether you want to make time, right? It is what it is. So
the next question I got for you is an intense theological question. You've probably seen this verse hundreds of times, but I want your view on it. Watch the screen. Would you like to read it, or do you want me to read it out loud?
No, I got it. Do not be afraid of those who kill the body but cannot kill the soul. Rather be afraid of the one who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Yeah, I've seen that.
So when you see this passage, what do you get from that?
Well, we do live in a world of persecution, man. And the reason it's saying it is because the apostles were telling us, and unfortunately what happened to many of them, which is ironic, because it happened to them, is that they ran into many people who killed their bodies, but definitely didn't kill their souls. And that's the thing, is that it's basically this is physical, but it is metaphorical as well, right? Because there's people out here that will abuse you, not necessarily take your life, but that is essentially telling you that no matter what the situation is, no matter what the persecution is that you're suffering, no matter what adversity you're going through, do not stop serving God. Do not abandon your relationship with God, and especially do not deny God before anyone, right? And it goes that goes. You can even look at people who were persecuted. A woman who had to watch her own children being tortured and eaten by lions, and she did not. She would not deny God. That's what that's about, man. You live in a world that's gonna kill. Look at what they did to you. It could be your YouTube channel, right? It could be your job. We've had people fired for praying for people at their jobs, right? It could be school. Not giving into the woke ideology because you know your relationship with God is such that it's not going to allow it. That those are people who want to kill you. They want to kill your body. They want to kill your livelihood. They want to kill everything. But at the end of the day, that verse is 100% about not separating yourself from God because of what the world does to you, regardless of whether it's physical death or the most minuscule thing. For me, that's what that means.
Well, I agree with you, and I feel like you've made excellent points on it. But the part that I'm trying to guide you toward, that I want to be able to hear what your view is the very second part of it. Rather be afraid of the one who can destroy both soul and body in hell. The reason why this interests me is, do you believe that the soul is destroyed or annihilated in hell?
You know, honestly, that is a source of a lot of theological debate, man. And unfortunately for me, my thing is, the way that I answer this question is, I know what you're talking about, the difference between eternal torture and just soul annihilation, where it'll be as if you never existed, not spiritually, not physically. That's what you're referring to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my Bible, a lot of the translations say eternal destruction or perish or ruin, but they don't say torture.
Right. And that's why there's so much debate about it, because Jesus did speak about hell a lot, but unfortunately he never went into so much detail that it explained what exactly the tortures of hell were going to be. Does that make sense? So for me, I've listened to a lot of great theologians, and I've listened to those who say you will be tortured. And then there's those who think that you'll burn, because Jesus used the parable about being cast into the furnace, right? And then I've heard guys like Frank Turek say, doesn't make any sense, because first of all, you can't burn something immaterial, right? That's what a spirit is. It is immaterial. And then on top of that, Jesus made it clear that where there's darkness and weeping and gnashing of teeth, there can't be any darkness somewhere where there's fire, because fire emits light, right? So again, there's a lot of different things that to be honest with you, I have no opinion on it one way or another, because I actually, when I was still doing Salvation Over Sin, I had made this clear a long time ago that regardless of what hell is or isn't, I'm not even remotely interested in seeing it for myself. I'm not going to be there. So to be completely honest with you, I don't care what it is, because no matter what it is, whether it's damnation and pain for eternity,
Dispatch has
or
been
whether
located.
it is that you're annihilated, which to me would be a lot more merciful for those, wouldn't. Here's the thing: it wouldn't be outside of the scope of possibilities for me for Yahweh, because when it comes down to it, he is ultimately the most merciful, right? I don't know what he's going to do. That kind of, for me, is like asking to know what God is thinking, right?
Right.
I don't know what God is thinking, and if I could comprehend what God was thinking, I would cease to exist, because I can't think on that level, right?
I understand. I've actually conceded and pointed out to other brothers and sisters in Christ that I'm dabbling. I wouldn't say I'm 100%, but I'm definitely between 80 and 85% towards annihilationism. And some people will say, well, that it doesn't sound like, Dante's Inferno type of hell. And I
Right.
said the problem with other annihilationists when they're talking, they don't ever point this part out. None of us know how long it takes for a soul to be completely and utterly destroyed.
Right.
So it could be a millennium, it could be 5 minutes, I don't know. But either way, it's going to suck. It's going to be awful.
And that's I mean, you can feel God knows how much torture in a very short amount of time. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Brett, give me a few minutes. I'm being waved down for a second. I'm going to mute my mic, and then I'll jump back on when I'm done.
Sure. No
Thanks,
problem. I'm going to upload a be right back sign for people whenever we take breaks sometimes, because we do need to use the restrooms every once in a while. We are human. and got to take care of things. As far as Brother Maverick, he's got a job he's got to do, and he's actually talking to me and going back and forth on that. So I understand completely. Let's see, where is my be right back sign so I can put that up for people in the future. I don't see it. Where did I put it? Oh, goodness gracious. I don't see where it's at. Oh, boy. Well, it looks like people did not pay attention to the announcement done on the front page. I will be right back, ladies and gentlemen. I do have the be right back right here. Okay. All right, I am back. Let me take the be right back thing off the screen. Let's see, where is that found? Okay, that's where it's at. All right. Let's see. Where is that folder at? Okay. I think that'll work. Yay, there it is. That's what I was looking for. All right. Oh. Well, Mr. Morden, I understand what you're saying, and I hope you keep in mind that although I call myself an annihilationist, I'm not fully 100%. There's a good chance that the Baptists and Pentecostals might actually be right. That I'm not holding back on this when I say that there are some verses that are questionable for me, on torment and the idea of people being self-aware of what's actually happening to them. But I guess I could argue as an annihilationist that the people are going to feel and they're going to regret what they're doing as their soul is disintegrating or being annihilated. But I don't believe that an omnipresent, all-knowing God wants to spend all eternity having to be self-aware of burning souls. That's just my thoughts. I could be wrong, though. Ah, goodness gracious. Well, hopefully he's okay over there. Let's see, what else can I talk about while we're doing all this stuff? Well, I guess I could send an invite to Mr. TTOR. Whoops. Let's see. Gotta go over to email. Get this email real quick and then put this over. Guess I'll probably have to hold off on doing some of these YouTube live shows since it seems like it's so vacant out there. That's too bad. There we go. Let's try another one. Yeah. Yeah, we'll go with that one. Copy the email. Put this in here. And we'll set that up. All right. Hopefully that goes through like it's supposed to. Yep. All right. All right. Well, we're going on an hour and 19 minutes. Mr. Morden, do you have any questions or topics you want to bring up while I'm waiting for Brother Maverick to return? For those who might want to know while I'm waiting, I myself have been screwing around with music today. My wife and we watched Batman Year One. It was an animated series, but it was like serious type of cartoon. It wasn't some of the goofy stuff you see done by Warner Brothers. And that was pretty cool. It was interesting. You get to see the origin of Commissioner Gordon and Bruce Wayne when he's younger, just starting to get around to being Batman. Hey, Dan, you want to come in, chat with me a little bit? I've been kind of waiting on Brother Maverick, but he's at work right now, so he's coming in and out on me. You want to come in, chat with me a little bit? I hate having conversations and talking alone. If I wanted to do solo videos, I'd just hit record and do it that way. This was, I opened these to give people the opportunity and ability to be able to have discussions with me. Oh, goodness gracious. Dan, I've got a very interesting topic you might enjoy if you can make it in. I'll be home in a half hour. I don't know if I'm going to be live still. If 30 minutes, another 10 minutes goes by and I ain't got nobody to talk to, I'll probably end up shutting this down. I'll upload what I have to my radio station because Brother Maverick answered a lot of questions for an interview I was doing. Oh, man. So, Dan, how's your day been? What have you been doing? I myself am thinking about doing some more gaming videos. I've been doing Elder Scrolls and all that, but I'm thinking about getting back into Starfield. I've got over 100 new mods I want to try out, all kinds of new toys and stuff. That's going to be pretty cool. Let me see what's going on over on my channel. I think I had a premiere going tonight for people who are into games. Let's see how that's going. Mm. Well, looks like this may have already started. Let me take a look. Mm. All right. Eh, let me check my comments over here. All right. Says, I loved your interview with the guy from California talking about not getting triggered. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was a good interview. I like doing interviews and discussions with people this way. Some folks, they want to have like 10 people in a room all at the same time. I like the one-on-one interactions. I like being able to get to know people and understand why they think the way they do. All right. It looks like Brother Maverick, unfortunately, is very busy. So I guess we will start shutting it down.